Hello you lots, hope you're doing well. Just going to make sure a few of you join in and then we will get going with Friday Night Football. Hello Jay, hope you're alright mate. Just going to shut my door. Hello Jay, hope you're alright mate. Just going to shut my door. Hello people, hope you're doing alright. Here we are again. Friday night bloody football. You just can't live without it, can you? Who have we got coming in? We've got Dave, hello. Henry, hello. Dylan, Big Nan. Tiger FX, RIP Toby. Yep, match on together to all you lot, especially you lot who were down there today. Well done. Hope it was an okay day for you. It's hard day for the LUFC family today. Callum G, football. Hello. William, the win for tomorrow. J Army, yes. Conor, Jake, hey boys. Hello. So, right, where should we start? Right, okay, so if you haven't already, make sure you check out Be Heroes, the short clip I did, what is it now, like 3 days ago? It's done really well. It's only a 4-minute clip, but all you lot seem to be loving it. And if you want to get pumped for this weekend, if you want to get excited, make sure you watch it, because I still watch it now and it gets me geared up. Tom Johansson, match on together from Norway. Ewan, match on together from York. Hello lads, hello. But yeah, where do we start? I mean, so much has gone on this week, but like I said, if you've not checked that 4-minute scale, make sure you check that. The previews have been out yesterday. I know Joe uploaded his late last night and Oscar's done his today. So all your previews are out, all your opinions are out, your comprehensive opinions. You've got Joe talking about all different aspects to what me and Oscar have spoken about. So make sure you check all that out. And I want to start with Halma. I want to start by talking about Halma and what I think about that. And I've already touched on it in my preview, but a lot of people are asking me my sort of opinion on it, and do I think it's really going to be a big problem tomorrow? I don't think it's going to be a big problem, because I think we will beat Rotherham. Do I think they'll have more things to go on by the fact that we are playing a small centre-half? I do, 100%. Yeah, I definitely believe that. I think they'll have more joy with the fact that we've got Phillips at the back. Maybe Halmer will come on in the game if Leeds look like we're struggling. But, I mean, the big thing now, and the big thing for Leeds United, is actually getting quality off the bench. And we don't have that off the bench at the minute. So what we're going to have to do is play 11v11, and we're going to have to do it on the pitch, aren't we? We're going to have to do our talking with our starting 11. So hopefully we'll come out the blocks. Hopefully we'll come firing like we did against Derby. 6 points out the next 6. I'm convinced we beat Rochdale, eh? I've been speaking to my mate who's a Barnsley fan. He's been going on about Barnsley Rochdale this weekend, so sorry about that. Yeah, I'm convinced we beat Norwich. I'm convinced. I'm going to say 2-0 right now. But this one's the tough one for me. It's a real tough game, so I'm going to get into some of your comments straight away. It's not going to be as long this time, guys. I'm going to watch that scum game tonight and be cheering on Arsenal, so I'm going to have a read a few of your comments. Jeff Ed, are you nervous about Leeds? May not get into the top 2? Oh, Jeff, what a question to start off, mate. Am I nervous about Leeds? A lot of you probably think that I'm, out of the 3, potentially the most, I don't know how to describe it, the most, I hate the N word, but maybe negative. I don't think I'm negative. I just think I shoot straight from the hip and I'm pretty realistic. I think if we don't bring in a winger, and a quality winger, no, I do not see us making the top 2, mate. And just for the plain reason that I don't think we've got enough depth. I don't. It's difficult to look at. I mean, Bamford, I think he'll be back, and I think he'll be a massive addition. But it's difficult to sort of see, when Izzy Brown does come back in, if he's got another 7 to 8 under 23 games. I mean, what does that take us down to? What, then will he have 11 games left of the league season? I mean, it's not enough. It's not enough to make us a massive impact. I mean, of course, there's points to play for there, but we got this guy on the premise that he'd be fit by January, and I love Izzy Brown. I loved him at Rotherham and Huddersfield, and even for a little bout at Brighton. But we need him. We need him now more than ever, because we're struggling at the minute. But this the bench for me is a huge worry. And I think, in answer to your question, Jeff, you mentioned, do I think we will finish in the top 2? I think if our injuries let up, I think if we get personnel in, I 100% believe in the fact that Marcelo Bielsa will be able to get a squad who finished 13th last season into the top 2 because the guy's a genius and he's a magician. Do I think with no additions and consistent injury worries, we get into the top 2? So if it replicates what we've just done and, the injuries are as they were, I don't think so, mate. I really don't. And that I just feel that the squad depth will catch us up. I really do. But on that premise, I also know that in my heart of hearts right now, I do think we'll go. We're 4 points clear of 3rd. They're playing each other, Norwich and Sheffield United this weekend. All West Brom have got a horrendous run of fixtures. But some may look at our fixtures and say, Conor, we've got some bad fixtures. But out of the top 6, we've got 4 left to play. And out of those 4, we've got 3 of them at home. And who are those 3? Norwich, West Brom, and Sheffield United. We've got Borough away. So out of those 4, I think we have to get minimum 9 points. I really do, to say we want to be in the top 2. And this, I've also said, and I've also said to Joe, and Joe's agreed with me, I've also said to Oscar, and Oscar's agreed with me, if we lose this game tomorrow, I do think we're in a bit of trouble, big time. But I also think that'll maybe knee-jerk the owners and the manager to look into different options of the field, and how Leeds can bring bigger and better assets in at the minute. Because, you saw the Stoke game, I mean, we just didn't have anything to bring off the bench. We just had a bunch of children. And, I've always said it as well, with promoted sides, they've always got half-decent benches. Even when you look at the Burnley season, you probably compare us to Burnley because we haven't spent that much. But, off the bench, Burnley still have the likes of Vokes. They still have the likes of Dean Marney. I know it sounds daft, but back in the day and back in that division, they were decent outfits. They were decent players. So, of course, the bench makes a massive impact. So Leeds have to improve that. And the injury crisis, that has to improve. I was saying to my old man today, I pray, and imagine this, I pray, imagine if Dan James comes in and he gets injured. But it's not unrealistic, is it? 13 different back lines. And I'm just alluding to that question now because I don't want to seem as I'm coming across in a certain way because I do think we'll get promoted. But we've just got such an unlucky run at the minute, and I don't know what you can put the injuries down to. And it's sort of luck as well. The referees are being absolute. Try not to swear. It's a bit of a resolution I made on this channel. The referees are being morons, and the decisions are going against us most weeks. So, for example, when we've got Calvin back now, Pontus is out. It's sort of 1 for 1 every time, or 1 for 2. When Bamford came back in, you thought, here we go, he's going to be fit, out for the next week. When Izzy Brown was about a month ago, when he was a week away from the first team, out again, did his hamstring a little bit more. And it just, Lady Luck needs to turn around. Lady Luck needs to turn around big time. And if it does, hey, we're on winning streak, aren't we? We'll bring some big players in. I genuinely think we need 3 players, 100%. And the reason behind that is because I think Hernandez is better out wide. I'd love to see Hernandez and Clark out wide. To be honest as well, guys, I'd love to see a change up in formation. I think 4-1-4-1 is becoming a bit rigid. It's becoming predictable. I don't think it gives the fullbacks license to run forward enough. And I think Roof needs help. I don't think he's having a lot of help from anyone else at the minute. I think Cleek's form's dipped. And I think it was better for Leeds when Hernandez was out wide. You look at that ball he put in for Roof on a sixpence for that Blackburn game. That wonderful ball he put in, for Roof to nod it in. Easy header from, the pace of the ball and etc. But that's what Hernandez gives you out wide. Doesn't necessarily give you pace. Doesn't necessarily give you acceleration. But he's tricky and he's a different element for a wide player to deal with. Because left backs and right backs, for instance, are used to dealing with pacey players, like maybe not of Jack Clark's ilk, but that sort of player, pace. When Pablo Hernandez is brought into the equation, it gives them something different to think about, Whereas a defensive midfielder who's dealing with a 10 is used to a tricky player, he's used to Romain Sawyers, that sort of ilk of player who Pablo Hernandez reminds me of quite a lot. So, I don't know, I think it's definitely I do think we'll make the top 2, and I know I've rambled on, excuse the pun. But Henry, what formation then? I potentially go with the 4-3-3. I think we've got the players for a 4-3-3. I think it would bring on Jack Harrison a lot. I think it would bring on Jack Clark even more. I think it's a much more attacking formation. And I think Marcelo's definitely, he's coming round to the fact of changing the formation a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what he does if he goes to 3 at the back. I just think 3 at the back, we do look better. It gives us a lot more license to roam forward. We look a lot more fluid. I think we pass it a lot quicker. I just think at the minute that 4-1-4-1, it's just becoming a little bit predictable. You know, we go behind, for example, in a lot of games, teams just sit back. And I don't think the 4-1-4-1 gives Kim Al-Roof enough to go on, to be honest. I always liked it when you had Cleek and sort of Hernandez supporting him. But at the minute, I think Hernandez, he doesn't play his best in that 10. That's natural. I don't think it's really his position. I think Samu was always moulded into that position and sort of Pablo was pushed out wide, so he adapted to that position. I also think that Cleek has gone off the boil completely. And to be honest, guys, I think when Phillips comes back into the 4, I think when Jansen comes back into the 4, I think you're going to see Cleek step out of the side. I think it's going to be Phillips and I think it's going to be Forshaw. But is that something that we could sort of welcome 100%? I mean, I'd like to see Forshaw in an advanced role. He had a couple of brilliant efforts versus Derby, and maybe he could complement that role, but Cleek at the minute is really struggling. So Roof in that 4-1-4-1 formation is isolated and he doesn't get enough service. He doesn't get enough help. So we are struggling for goals at the minute. And that's why when people talk about... People were also criticising me yesterday. I got a few comments on the video of people saying, yeah, well, you can't criticise people who say the scores because, you know, you said 3-1 Stoke win. Yeah, I did say 3-1 Stoke win. I'm not saying I'm not up for criticism. I've not been naive. I can get these things wrong. You know, we all get things wrong as Leeds fans. But I'm saying if you're going out on a whim and saying we're going to beat Rotherham 4 or 5-0, it's probably slightly unrealistic just on the premise of we've got a lot of players out. They might have a lot of players out as well, but, you know, we're not scoring enough goals. They're not scoring enough goals. It's a derby game. I genuinely think it's just going to be a bit more of a tight game. And I think if you're going out and saying 4-5-0, it's just a little bit unrealistic. I do think a team will get a pasting from Leeds United this season. I think a team will get a pasting when Leeds have their full side back together again. When we have Brown potentially in the squad, when we have Bamford coming off the bench, I think a team will get an absolute roasting. But until that point, I don't see where sort of, you know, I guess what I'm alluding to is, you know, even the Derby game when it's the best performance in my time, guys, 26 years, it's the best performance I've seen. It's the most complete Leeds United performance. They were excellent. But, you know, we still only managed 2 goals. You know, in that game, that was a 2-goal battering. That should have been 6 or 7, you know. And I think if you sort of cast your minds back to Norwich as well when we played them away, Saiz had a golden edge chance. Roof missed it. He pretty much kicked it off the line. Alioski shaved the post. What I'm saying is Leeds don't really have that clinical nature. And we haven't really had that all season, to be honest. Even Derby, we could have got 8 away from home. We're all over them. So I think I think a change in formation could help, and I also think it'd be brilliant for Jack Harrison. Jack Harrison's played in a 4-3-3 before. He's played it in City's development team. He's played it for NYC. So that would definitely help his performance. In that 4 in the middle, he's sort of a left mid, left back sort of thing. He doesn't really get involved in the game. He sort of, you know, a lot of the time, he doesn't seem to flow with him. But when he's sort of as maybe an inverted forward, which Clark could be moulded into, I think he'd be a really special player. I mean, Man City don't keep him and take him on a pre-season tour and not be willing to sort of let him out on loan until Bielsa goes in Pep's ear if he's crap, if he's getting above Ibrahim Diaz, if he's getting more first-team appearances than Phil Foden. So you've got to bear that in mind. Are Leeds utilising Jack Harrison's attributes? Because he's got attributes. You saw that in the Preston game. But are Leeds sort of... I think Lewis Baker was a lost cause. I mean, he's been out on loan about 8 or 9 times. But, you know, Harrison's only been on loan, really, at Borough. And he didn't really get any game time. This is the first proper loan Jack Harrison's had. I mean, are we using him that well? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm just going to read some of your comments. Masmark, match on together. Scotland, Big Nan, best Leeds player. At the minute, mate, I would go with best Leeds player at the minute. That's a brilliant question. If you mean currently, I don't know. I would probably say Alioski at the minute. Andrew Saxton, apart from mention of James from Swansea, transfers have been quiet since signing Casilla. I wonder who else Leeds have in their sights we haven't heard of yet. Well, I mean, you'll probably see from the thumbnail of this video that there's been a mention today of Cavaleiro from Wolverhampton Wanderers. It was reported by a Sun reporter, so you've got to take it with a pinch of salt if you want to read that rag of a newspaper. But at the end of the day, this man who reported it is very respected. He got the Raul Jimenez transfer right, spot on before anybody else did. And he also, apparently, Anthony Knockaert is being loaned out, and he was the first one to make the breaking news. I think he's going to France this window, and he was the first one to break that news. I was scrolling down his Twitter today. So the guy's clearly got pedigree. He clearly knows what he's talking about with transfers. I saw another journalist also allude to the fact that this particular journalist knows what he's talking about. So, I mean, there's some. He's sort of a solid journo. He's not just some clickbait like HITC or One Football or anything like that. So, I mean, he definitely is taken to contention. But what I would say is I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll get into why Ivan Cavaleiro would be a brilliant signing for Leeds. Well, he can play on either wing. He's powerful. He's explosive. He ripped Leeds apart twice last season. Excellent footballer. Very good on the ball. Very neat and tidy. Played within a Wolves system that is very similar to Leeds. Very, very similar to Leeds. Very neat and tidy on the ball. Works back a lot. As I've said, I think his main attribute is his pace. Very similar to Dan James in that respect. His acceleration over a 10-yard distance is phenomenal. One of the best I've seen, can use both feet, and as I've said before, that allows him to play on the left or the right. And for me, he's a better signing than Dan James. And I know a lot of you guys agree with that because I've seen it all over Twitter. But I think he is a better signing than Dan James. And I'll give you the main reason why I think that. He was in a promoted team. Now, a lot of people say that being in a promoted team is just meh. I mean, you might play a bit part within it, but it's a massive, massive coup. Having someone from a promoted team who's done it in this division, who's been at this stage with the team prior in this position that Leeds are in, top of the table, going for the championship, going for the premiership, building for the future as Leeds are. It's a massive, massive thing to have a promoted player within your squad. It's experience in the final half of the season. I mean, you've got players like the West Bromwich Albion players, Dwight Gale, Chris Brunt, etc., who have experienced promotion. They've experienced promotion with whatever side. Leeds don't have that. We don't have players who've experienced promotion. So Dwight Gale, Chris Brunt, for example, have got to this stage of the season and they've known exactly what to do. They know. They've got experience. It's like when you have people talk about City winning titles and having the advantage over Liverpool because none of the Liverpool team have won a title. You know, it's the exact same thing. So getting promoted players in is a massive, massive thing for a club. It's not only good on the pitch, but it's good psychologically for any club. So they can share their experience with the young lads. And someone like Ivan Cavaleiro, he's not just quality on the pitch, but I can imagine he's very good off the pitch as well. So getting someone like him for me would be, that would arguably trump the Casilla signing for me. If Victor Orta went out and signed Casilla and Cavaleiro in the window, I don't think you'd ever hear any murmurs of a number 10. Of a number 10 being an issue for Leeds, because I think you just deal with it. You know, I think you deal with it because they are just two massive coups and we can work around it. I think with Dan James, I'm not having a slight on Dan James here. I still think there's work to do. I still think he'd need to be indoctrinated into the Bielsa system. I don't know how long it'd take him to get up to speed. I know Bielsa mentioned before that he wants players who can just slot into the team straight away. But Swansea play nice football, but they don't play football like Leeds United. It's not really as intense. The high press isn't there every single game. 1-2 touch football, playing out from the back. It's not Swansea's philosophy. You know, you've got likes of Ollie McBurney up front, so they do utilise that. He's a 6'4" giant, so they do utilise that and sort of play off him in obviously a much better way. But I don't think they've got the same philosophy as Leeds United. So would Dan James be able to fit into that system as seamlessly as an Ivan Cavaleiro? I don't think so. I think Cavaleiro would slot into this Leeds team like, you know, a knife through butter. I think he'd be absolutely perfect. So, you know, that would be, I couldn't think, you know, I was talking about Casilla and I was saying that's got to be the statement signing of the past 15 years. And I stand by that. You know, Leeds have notoriously been shocking in transfer windows. I mean, it's definitely turned around. I mean, when we signed Bamford, I was over the moon. But obviously we had to let Vieira go to bring Bamford in. But if we actually just go out there and slap 10, 12 million on Cavaleiro, it is massively unlikely. But I know this, that money isn't an issue with Leeds United, you know? So it's all about whether Bielsa wants the guy. So on that premise, if he wants Cavaleiro, Leeds can go out and get Cavaleiro. So that's a massive, massive question. And the fact that it's been sparked, there's a couple of Wolverhampton fans on my timeline who've been saying that it is rumours down there. However, Tim Spire came out, who was part of the Wolverhampton Express and Star, which is sort of the equivalent of the YEP at Leeds. And we know we're like gospel with that, aren't we? We are like absolute gospel. If Phil tweets something out, if Joe Urquhart tweets something out, we're like, right, okay, that's dead. Or that's not dead. That's a big thing. The only reason people started going on about Dan James was because Phil Hay tweeted out and said he was interested, which is the right way to be because it's an official source. It's someone who respects the club, is close with the club, and, you know, when Phil says it, it's right. Tim Spire did come out and say that it's fabricated and Wolves don't encourage anyone to put the bids in. I've said this on our group chat. I've said that it's probably pretty unlikely then, but on the flip side of the coin, a lot of clubs do this. You know, a lot of clubs do this, and the reason they do that is because they potentially want Leeds to up the bid. But this could be another sort of slant by Leeds United. What I've seen online is that it could be a fallback. It could be a fallback option. If James doesn't work, then Ivan Cavaleiro is a fallback. Now, is the reason Ivan Cavaleiro is a fallback because his price is going to be sky high? Leeds are willing to pay it, but his price is going to be sky high. We all know that. They bought him for 8 million. I don't think they're going to take anything less than 10 for him. Because he's still a feature in the the Wolverhampton Wanderers side this season. So he still features pretty much every other week. Still features every FA Cup game, League Cup game. But does he want that? Does he want to move? You know, when Leeds went in for Barry Douglas, Mendes was within that Wolves cohort who spoke to Leeds. Apparently Orta and Radrazani do know Mendes. So is that something that Leeds could exploit? I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if Leeds went down that route. We can only wait and see. But if the Dan James saga is still going on, and I will say this, I do think Dan James is the number one priority. That's been reported by pretty much every journalist, and that is who Bielsa wants. I think he likes the balance of having James on one side, Clark on the other. Gives Leeds probably the best balance we've had since we've come down the Premier League. Douglas one side, Ayling one side, Clark one side, James one side. That is a perfect balance for a football team. And we've not had that in years and years and years. You even look at the Gradle Snodgrass era, we had shite fullbacks. We didn't have fullbacks that could correlate with those two wingers. So if they're able to sort that out and they're able to get balance within the squad, avoid injuries to Daniel James when he comes in, because, you know, it's going to be a massive transition for him to come in this squad because they don't play the same way as Leeds United, as we've seen with the likes of, you know, Douglas, Bamford, who've come in and sort of slightly struggled. Douglas has had a few niggles this season. Obviously, Bamford's had the extended injury from earlier on in the season. Then he had the tightening of the hamstring. So Daniel James needs to come in and we need to be lucky. You know, he needs to come in, he needs to avoid injury. And I guess youth's on his side there as well. But then you'd look at an Izzy Brown, who's the exact same age as Daniel James, and he's suffered the injuries he has. So you can't really use that argument. But I do think if Cavaleiro is a fallback, which Phil Hay said today, you know, Leeds were interested in him. You know, but I'm interested in going to Seychelles for 2 weeks. You know, what does that mean? Leeds have always been interested in players for the past 10, 15 years. But if there's genuine interest there, which Phil Hay has said, then would Cavaleiro be a fallback? I would imagine that Daniel James is the number one because he's a little bit cheaper. We can mould him into a top quality player. And, you know, Cavaleiro's, I think he's 28. So Daniel James is 21, so he's a long-term project. So he's a Premier League project. But is Cavaleiro a Premier League player? Of course he is, 100%. But what Leeds will be looking at is it'll be the cost-effective option. Daniel James potentially could be a lot better than Cavaleiro. He's very young and he's cheaper. You know, Cavaleiro, on the other hand, is going to be massive. He's going to be very expensive for a championship side. I think it's going to be 12 to 15 million, if I'm brutally honest. His wages are going to be a lot more than Daniel James. And there's going to be a lot of negotiation there to prize Ivan Cavaleiro from Wolves' grip because he's still a massively rated player there. I would potentially say he's better than Adama Traore. I think he's a better player. And he's got more in his arsenal than Traore. I think he's a much better player. I put him on the same level as Diogo Jota. I think you saw that last season. But the balance they had was perfect. But as I've said, he's got experience in winning championships. You know, Portuguese international. I mean, for me, that would be a brilliant signing. Who would I prefer, him or Dan James? It's a tough one. But at this minute in time, I agree with the lads who all Leeds TV. For me, we're going up this season. And Leeds are talking about buying players in for the future. Cavaleiro could be for the future. Cavaleiro could play in the Premier League. Not only that, but right now, he would seamlessly fit into this squad, in my opinion. I don't think there's as harsh transition from Wolves to Leeds as Swansea to Leeds. And I think he'd make an impact straight away. And we've got him for the last 6 months. He's barely played for the first 6 months in the Premier League. So Leeds have essentially got a fully fit Ivan Cavaleiro who can seamlessly fit into the Leeds squad. So I would go Ivan Cavaleiro. He would be my pick. But I can thoroughly understand why Leeds would pick Dan James. Lewis Heyman, loving these videos, mate. March on together from the US of A. Hello, mate. I think that's the second USA person I've had. I think I had someone from, oh no, that's Canada. My bad. Geography is not my number one point. Tom Johansson, any new number 10 rumoured in? Creative gap there after Saiz. Yeah, Tom, there was a rumour for a Premier League number 10. We've not heard who. I mean, that's the excellent thing about the club. You had Douglas, Bamford, Brown. They all came in and we knew nothing about them. So I do think things could be under wraps at Leeds United. I do think a surprise could be in order. But it's all up to Bielsa. It's all up to Bielsa, what he deems fit. I think it's more unlikely as getting a number 10 than a winger. A number 11 is definitely our priority. But if Bielsa deems it fit that we need another number 10, you know, I would go for a number 10, but that's because I'm a fan, and I think every fan wants a number 10. And the reason behind that is because I think Pablo's better out wide, and then who you're relying on as a number 10? Tyler Roberts and a half-crocked Izzy Brown, who might not even get into the squad for another 6, I don't know, what would you say, 5 to 6 weeks? You know, 7 or 8 under 23 games, he's still got to go. So for me, guys, a number 10 is priority as well. I mean, a number 11 and a 10 would be priority for me, but whether or not the club think Tyler Roberts could fit in that role, or they'd like to just keep Pablo in that role, from what I'm hearing, that he wants Pablo to be moulded into that role. So there you go. That's sort of your answer. If he wants Pablo in that role, then that's how it is. Guys, as well, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, there's 121 of you watching, which is fantastic. It's Friday night. I know it's difficult. I know a lot of you are out. I know a lot of you are seeing the families for the first time because of your week at work. So to be honest, when I get over 80 views on a Friday in particular, it's mega good. I'm so happy for that. So smash the like button if you would. Cavan Clark will rip the defenders a new bumhole, and giving Ruth those balls will be unstoppable. Yeah, exactly, mate. I just think he's a quality player. He's an unreal player. He's an unreal player. I loved him when he was at Wolves. Watched a little bit of him when he was in Portugal because I'm a bit of a football nerd. I do really like the Portuguese league. Don't ask me why. But he's a quality player. Portuguese international. You know, you bring him in, and then you've got a Spanish international who's at Real Madrid, and then you've got Cavaleiro, who's a Premier League player. He's a Premier League player, and this is where the justification for Dan James seems a little bit grey, I guess. I think you can't say it's black and white, but I would say that the reason they bring in Dan James would be because he's a lot younger and there's a lot more development needed. But you know, I'd say Cavaliero's there, James is potentially there, but maybe they think James can do that. But I still think Cavaleiro can do that. I think he can still, and playing under Bielsa, you can't say Cavaliero's not going to improve his game under Bielsa. It's just not. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, how good could Cavaleiro be at Leeds United? He literally could be unstoppable in this league. You know, he's not got a history of injuries. That's a massive point. He's not got a massive history of injuries. So that's a big thing coming into this Leeds United squad. Phil Hay, or it's not real. Exactly, Rogue, 100%. Andrew Batty, 6 days left. Hope we are not cutting it fine, getting the players we want and miss out. Yeah, I don't think we are, mate. I think James, it's going to be right to the wire. And I think that is what worries me a little bit. Because there's talk of Swansea needing the money. So you think that they want the deal done ASAP so then they can go out and buy someone. But maybe what Swansea will do is they'll buy somebody with the sort of knowledge in the back of their head that they will sell James to Leeds. It's just for how much, but I don't want to be leaving that till the last 3 or 4 days. You know, I know what you mean, 6 days left, it's not long, is it? And you sort of forget, don't you? January whizzes by. Always does. It's a shite month, but it always whizzes by so quickly. And it does worry me. Of course it worries me, but you know things are going on in the background. It wouldn't surprise any of you if in 3 or 4 days Dan James was a Leeds United player. But would you be happy with that? Would you be happy with Casilla and Dan James? I'm going to put that to you. Get your answers in there. I'm reading them all out. Ian Fraser, misinformation so Orta can say to Swansea, last chance or we're off to Wolves for Cavaleiro. Swansea need the dough though. Yeah, Ian, brilliant comment. And I completely agree with what you're saying, mate. It could be a coup to just divert the attention away from James and for Swansea to literally turn around and say, whoa, don't go. We still want to negotiate. And it's a smart marketing tool. You know, that happens in business throughout the world. So not just in football either. So will that happen? I could see that happening. You know, the fact that there's tabloids everywhere saying that we're in for him and we're in for, you know, Cavaleiro. Is that going to think, Swansea then going to turn around and think, whoa, hold on here. Yeah, Dan James knows of the interest. He's not ruled it out about Leeds. So Leeds need to go in there and be ruthless. You know, I can't really think of a time where Leeds have been ruthless in the transfer window. Slap 5 million down. Go out and get your man. Go out and get your man. If you want Dan James, it's not as cutthroat as this. I understand that. But if you want Dan James, you go out and get him. Of course you do. Because that's who Bielsa wants. So I get the whole negotiation thing. But if we miss out on Dan James, that is going to be massive. But we miss out on Dan James and then you've got a Cavaleiro in waiting who maybe Mendes has spoken with Orta and there's a potential avenue there. If we miss out on Dan James and panic buy Cavaleiro, which I don't think it's a panic buy, slap down the money for Cavaleiro, but Bielsa wants his man. He's the manager. Go out and get it. You've got the money. Go out and get it. But it's a massive, massive thing this window. We have to sort it. And I agree with you, mate. It could be a coup just so Swansea rope us back in. Zero Cool, need 3 more quality players. Bielsa is burning players out. Right back Ayling is crap. Other winger and a number 10. Yeah, Ayling's having a shocker. He really is. And I don't know if it was because he was rushed back. That there is potential for that. But he's having a shocker. He's really, really poor at the minute. I think that's why you bring Shackleton in. You've got a ready-made right back there. Well, not a right back by trade, centre mid by trade, but brilliant right back there. I saw him live against QPR. He was just absolutely quality. Derby came on, brilliant, full of energy. He's not as tall as Ayling, of course he's not, but Ayling's just too predictable at the minute. Stokey was awful. Stokey was shocking. Worst player on the pitch. Was a passenger at Derby. Wasn't good versus QPR. Wasn't great versus Villa. You know, where does he make, you know, you've got a ready-made, I guess it's the whole experience thing, isn't it? You don't want to chuck Shaq in too soon. He's only 19. But Ayling's not good enough at the minute. He needs to be dropped, in my opinion. Dave Walker, getting players in doesn't worry me. It's what the EFL plans to do with the backbiting clubs, backing in, punishing Leeds. Don't worry about that, Dave. There's going to be no points deduction. I don't want to go over that again because I'm sick of hearing the shite. I think it gets worse by journos snowballing it. And that's how more of the clubs see it. It gets worldwide attention because of social media. So us talking about it, that's why me, Joe and Oscar have elected to not talk about it in the videos because we're the platform for Leeds. We have all your opinions on it. Do not worry about that. There will not be a points deduction. They wouldn't dare. And I'm telling you that for a fact. They wouldn't dare. You know, after the Sean Harvey's quotes today, I think there's going to be a slap on the wrist. So let's all just leave that. David Muir, hi Conor, slightly fed up checking every hour, minute for new signings. Guru, come on Leeds, it's our best chance to go up. Hey, David, I mean, I said the same thing under Monk. When we brought Mo Barrow and Pedratha in, I said the same. I think you've got to go out there and back the manager. You've got to go out there and do that. If your ambition is to go up, which it was to get Bielsa in, we have to back our manager. And I do believe we're doing that. You know, I've been told that apparently money's not an issue. So if money's not an issue, then go out and get your man. You know, negotiation is a big thing in football. That's why Daniel Levy's managed to keep hold of Harry Kane, Dele Alli and Eriksen for so long. But you've got to negotiate smartly as well. We cannot come out of this window without a winger. So as David said, with 6 days to go, there has to be movement. There has to be a win against Rotherham and there has to be movement in the last week of the transfer window. Liam Halford, do you think Nick Powell could be a good fit should we not get Cavaleiro or James? It's a nice point there, Liam. I don't know how he'd fit into the sort of Bielsa philosophy, the ethos. I don't know if he'd be able to fit into the passing style. and the intensity style. Bielsa has always alluded to the fact that he wants players to seamlessly transition into the squad. And that's why I refer to Ivan Cavaleiro, because he's been at that standard before. He would seamlessly be sort of able to fit into the Leeds squad and to get up to speed, because the last thing Bielsa wants is to have to 4 or 5 weeks focusing on one individual getting up to speed. We've got too many injuries to do that, and I think Nick Powell could be one of those players who you'd have to do that. I mean, you'd have to lose about 4 or 5% body fat anyway, so I think it's probably a little bit unlikely. I do really like Nick Powell. I think he's a quality Championship player. David Muir, last time they punished us, Dave Walker, we won 7 in a row, yada yada. What have you guys said? Andrew Saxton, watching from work, about to finish night shift. Yeah, guys, Andrew's from Australia. I met Andrew in Australia, used to sit with him, United. There was a time where me and Andrew were in the, it's called Cheers Bar, little story for you. And he'll remember this. And there was 2 little screens, and it was Tottenham, Chelsea, and Man United. Tottenham, Chelsea, and Man United. Liverpool, maybe? I can't remember who it was. But they were on the small screens in this huge bar in Australia. And Leeds were on the massive screen, because the owner of the Cheers Bar is a massive Leeds fan. But it's brilliant to see, there was thousands of people in this pub, and Leeds was still on the massive screen. There was about 60, 70 of us with Leeds scarves on, Leeds shirts on, watching the game. And it was brilliant. It really was brilliant. Is it going to work? I think it's still working, guys. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just making sure. It's going to refresh. Are we still good? We are still good. Sorry about that. Yeah, anyway, back onto the story. I don't know why it just cut off there. I'm using my 4G now, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, it was a brilliant day and night, and Leeds were excellent. And it's one of those things where you see our global reach, and that's why us getting to the Premier League is just such a massive thing we need to do. Far from Fangio. Remember, Ayling went downhill before his injury. Wayne Mace, Ayling wouldn't been anywhere near first choice had Berardi not got injured. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I wouldn't massively disagree with that. I think Berardi would have been able to seamlessly sort of fit into that role, wouldn't they? Especially if Ayling was being as poor as he has been these last couple of days, last couple of games, actually last 4 or 5 games. Leeds United highlights. Balassi and Flint would be amazing. Oh, I'm not sure, mate. Probably have to disagree with that one. I'm not sure about Balassi's work rate. I think he's gone off the boil since his injury, and I think Flint's just a wooden wanker. Jake Fair, Casilla and James would be great business. However, I feel like we'd be taking a risk, not bringing in a number 10 with Brown picking up silly little knocks. Yeah, Jake, I'm on board with you, mate. I agree completely with what you're saying. I think we don't bring someone like him in, or a 10 in, then we could unfortunately see the detriment of that a little bit further down the line, and we've seen it before, haven't we, when we don't recruit in the right way. So you'd be hoping that Leeds are looking at that, and I think they are. Wayne Mace, money doesn't guarantee jack shit. I think in the modern world, Wayne, I'd say it does. It does pretty much guarantee it. I mean, why would Cavaleiro not want to come to Leeds? Why would James not want to come to Leeds? These players go for money every single day of the week. That's why everyone goes to China nowadays. That's why that's why Yannick Carrasco went out there. That's why Pato went out there at such a young age. I think money does talk. And if Leeds are able to slap down a decent transfer figure, I think Wolves would let him go. I think Swansea would also let Daniel James go. You forget these teams that we're going after as well. Wolves still need money. I know they're in the Premier League and they've got a lot of money, but the players they have on their wage budget, like the likes of Cavaleiro, they don't need them on the wage structure. So getting rid of them is only beneficial to them. Swansea, they've just come down from the Premier League. They'll have reaps and reaps of loan payments. Alongside that, they won't be able to afford half the players on the wage structure. Wayne Routler, Wilf Boney, Leroy Fer. I don't know if Dyer's still there, but players like that who will be on the excess of 40, 50 grand a week. So it does talk, because if Leeds are able to take one of those off their hands, then why would they not do that? Tiger Steel, we will get a winger in. I trust Orta to do the job. I do too, mate, 100%. When Roof got injured, I thought we would be aiming for a Cav on emergency loan. Did you? Well, it's a good shout, mate. But he can play up front as well. He's played up front in the Portuguese league. He can play a striker. He can play all along that top three. He's a quality player. Leeds United highlights. Should we give Hadi Sacco a go? Short answer to that, nope. To Gibbo, agree. Need a winger. Need a natural replacement for Saiz in addition to winger. Dave Walker, mate, it's great to get a chance to see your vids when we are out in the field. Cheers, mate. Leeds United highlights. Go through the squad, Conor, and say who could play in the Premier League. Oh, God. Who are we saying then in the Premier League? I know you guys like doing this to me because I'm the one who probably will say one player. No, Casilla, 100%. Back four, what if you're looking at Ayling, Jansen, Cooper, Douglas? I'd say Douglas could make it in the Premier League. I always said that last season. Jansen, definitely. Cooper. So that's four. I don't think Ayling could cut it. I think he'd get caught out too much. In the middle, Cleek. If Cleek's consistency improves, he could, but at the minute I'd say no. Calv, definitely. So that's five. Forsh. Yeah, for sure, definitely. 6. Harrison, nope. Clark, yep, 7. Roof. Do you know what? Roof's a really tough one for me. Because I know a lot of people say, well, he's done so well this season, yada, yada, yada. But the step up to the Premier League is completely different. And I think the players that I've named so far have shown this season, and as Roof has to an extent, but I think they've shown it over numerous seasons, that their levels can be improved greatly. And I think Roof, I don't know. I mean, I've always said as well that I prefer Dwight Gale to a Roof. You know, I think he's got more in his arsenal. I think he's a better finisher. I think he's quicker. I think he's better in the channels. I think he's better in the 6-yard box. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at the 7. Controversial, but I wouldn't have Roof. I'd want a better... You know, you look at... Okay, here's a comparison. Wolves went up last season, and Leo Bonatini, who bagged 25 goals last season. He was quality for Wolves, as we all know last season. He was a poacher in the box consistently. Fantastic player. Leo Bonatini, they went up and looked at Raul Jimenez. What does that say? So you just can't be biased and say because it's Kemal Roof, because he plays for Leeds, he'd automatically get into the Premier League. You know, look at Chris Wood. He barely gets in the Burnley squad, you know, and he's done something similar to Roof. You might say Roof's nippy and quick, but is that enough? I don't think it is. So no, I wouldn't have Roof, but those 7 I would. People have forgotten how poor Ayling looked before his injury last season. Loved him under Monk, but since hasn't looked the same. Very good point. Once again, I'd agree. A lot of you are talking a lot of sense tonight. You know, do you want to do what I do? I agree. I don't think Ayling's been under Christensen. I don't think he was that good. You know, latter half of last season, Eckenbottom, he wasn't good, and he's not been good since. I just think with Ayling, he's got a lot of. He's very predictable. His pace can't get him out of situations because he doesn't have any pace. I don't think he's brilliant at heading the ball. I don't agree with people saying he's good at centre back. 2 games I will pick out for that is Swansea. Start of this season, I thought he was shocking. I thought he got ran ragged by McBurney, and people will say, well, Berardi was playing. Yes, Berardi was playing, but he was with Ayling as a centre-back partnership, you know, and Ayling wasn't taking any of the responsibility from corners or anything like that. It was all Berardi, and Berardi's 5'9". You know, that argument just does my head in. The fact, Berardi could have done it. Well, Berardi's done everything this season. He's proved that he should be in that squad. Ayling gets a chance at centre-back, and he screws it up, you know, and I'll also refer to Barnsley away when Conor Horan scored that goal in the bit. It's 3-2 at Oakwell. I think they've got it on DVD in the Barnsley club shop. When they beat us 3-2, it was awful. He got ran ragged by Winnall and Adam Armstrong, and they're not decent players. You know, Winnall can't get a game for Sheffield Wednesday, and Adam Armstrong, okay, he's nippy and quick, but he's playing for Blackburn Rovers. You know, that's not a sense of entitlement, but he's never made it at the top clubs. That's why Newcastle have always loaned him out. So if Ayling's getting skinned by players like that, is he fit to start centre-back against? People were talking for him starting against Rotherham. I tell you for one, Michael Smith would have had him in his back pocket. He's not a good player, Michael Smith. Genuinely isn't, but he's physical. And I don't think Ayling deals with that well. So, yeah, I'd completely agree with that comment. Dave Walker, Leeds have a massive following in the parachute regiment. Yeah, my best mate's dad. Don't know if you know him, Dave. He's called Neil Fox. A little blooper there. Neil is a massive Leeds fan. He's part of the parachute regiment. New play, one skill move, and everyone begs him. Bolasie is Dunga. What else have we got on here? Ollie Watkins would be a class player. Yeah, he wouldn't be a bad one, Ollie Watkins. I think he'd fit in really seamlessly as well because Brentford play. That's what you've always got to look at with additions, guys. Are we getting them from a club who play very similarly to Leeds United? Are we getting them from a club who we can put into the squad straight away, right now, and we can get success from? That's why with the Nick Powell suggestion, you get him in, it's going to take 4 or 5 weeks for him to get up to speed. Who's injured at the Rotherham team? I don't know. I know there's the 18. I don't know if you guys can. I'm scrolling through the comments here, but if you can tell me if Will Volks is injured. If Volks is injured, that's massive. That's a big one because he's their man. Roof would go missing in the Prem. Yep, agree. Forshaw Prem class. Nah, mate, he's a decent Championship player. That's about it. Reece Redhead. Well, Reece, you forget that he played 35 games in the Premier League for Borough, and according to a lot of my mates, he was one of the best players that season. He's also played in the Premier League alongside Everton, so why not? You know, if Forshaw's more consistent, you know, gets used to the role a bit more, his fitness gets up, starts scoring a few more goals. I think they're all little things which Forshaw can do and will do. He could be a quality player. So I don't agree with that, mate. I really don't. I think he'd do well in the Premier League. Maybe not well. I'm not talking Christ. I don't know if you guys are thinking that I'm going to be comparing it, you know, alongside Paul Pogba or something like that, or alongside, I don't know, but you know, I don't really focus on the Premier League that much, to be honest. But I'm talking bottom level Championship, you know. But when you're getting players like Mihailovic for Palace, and then you're getting players like Jason Punchin for Huddersfield, then you're getting players for, I'll say it, Mark Noble for West Ham. You can't tell me that Forshaw is light years away from those three. No chance in hell. I think people have this ideology that every single Premier League centre midfielder is world class. Doesn't work like that. You know, doesn't work like that. Matt Andrews not doubting what he's done, just goes missing. Sometimes we're missing Bamford. Yeah, we are. We're missing Bamford massively. You look at what he did at the back end of last season for Borough. I think he's got 9 goals in 12, got 4 assists. Bamford is class. He is class. So the fact that we've signed him and we've actually got him on the books for a number of years now is a brilliant coup. But we need him. You know, we need him. Who would I got asked the other day, who would I rather have, Bamford or Roof? I'd rather have Bamford. I think he's a more complete centre forward. But Roof's doing brilliantly at the minute. But you forget, Bamford was brought in to be the starting centre forward. Roof was there to compete with him. So yeah, what a player, you know, what a player we've got in the ranks if we're getting fit. Ayling was my favourite player under Monk. It pains me to say it, but he's been absolutely poor since. Scuffs every time he's shooting as well. Yeah, I don't want to bash Ayling or anything, but you know, Ollie LUFC just said below, and I think he's spot on with it. I don't think Ayling's been as good since his injury, and I agree. Yeah, I mean the latest injury he has, but he had a knockback as well in the Monk season where he was out for 4 to 5 weeks, and he wasn't the same after that as well. It seems to take Ayling a while to get back up to speed. So yeah, it's one of those things. But you know, I always had a big problem with people saying that he was the best right back in the division. I just do not agree with that at all. I think in a lot of people's eyes have been widened to the fact that when you've got Shackleton who's come in, he's done a better job, you know, pretty much throughout the season. So I don't get that fullback comment. I've never understood that, and I've never agreed with that. I think when you look at Douglas, yeah, of course you can. I don't think Douglas had an amazing season, but yeah, he essentially could be the best left back in the division on his day. Ayling, I mean, where does he beat other defenders? Where does he beat? Let's think of an example. Let me think of an example. Angel Rangel. Where does he beat him at QPR? Rangel's what, 6'2", good in the air, can play centre backs, versatile. He's got experience in the Premier League. Probably worth the same as Ayling. Where does he beat him? You know, I don't get the hype, and I'd love to see Shackleton in. It's not an Ayling bashing, but it's constructive criticism. I'd love to see Shackleton given a little bit more time. I think he's quality. Henry LUFC, Conor, I think Volks won't play. Well, that's a big plus. That's very, very exciting because Volks is the sort of main man. He's the throw as well. It takes a lot out of Rotherham without him because the throw, he's always on the edge of the box ready to strike it as well when the ball comes off Michael Smith. You get Volks out of that team and it's a big, big loss. LBCS, painful how close we got to signing Harvey Barnes, isn't it? Would have been perfect for us right now. Yeah, Barnes, what a player he is. What a player. I don't know if he scored, I don't know if he'd call it his goal really when they played at the weekend, Barnes, but he's just class. He's absolutely class, and I think he'd have been the difference, but who knows, he'd have probably got injured, wouldn't he? Bamford would be good in the Prem. Ollie, yeah, forgot about Bamford. Brown would be good in the Prem as well, but we're not going to keep hold of him. But Bamford, I'd definitely have in the Premier League, you know. I think he had a stint with Norwich in the Prem as well, didn't he? But yeah, 100% I'd have him in the league. Jaggy Babs, come on, Conor, get your dad on. It's why we're all here, mate. Thanks, mate. Yeah, he's at work, mate. He's got shifts, unfortunately. Reece Durkin, what's this about Cavaleiro? Mate, if you want to watch it back, you can replay the stream. I go over it right at the start, so make sure you do that. I'm not going to go over it again because I've got all these other people watching now. Guys, if you haven't as well, smash the like. We're on 51 and there's 141 of you watching. So a third of you have liked it. So go over and do us a favour and give us a like, please, guys. Makes a big difference. T. Gibber, what's your thoughts on the ref we have the pleasure to enjoy this weekend? His reputation seems to precede him for all the wrong but equally predictable reasons. Yeah, good question, Gibbo. I mean, the shitbags in this league, aren't they? And the reason they are is it's not me being biased. It's not because I'm a Leeds fan. I mean, technically, a little bit it is, but you know, everything I can sit here to you now and list off. I reckon this season 12 incidents where Leeds have been sort of done over a little bit. I'm not gonna because I can't be bothered and there's not enough time in the stream and it's Friday night and we all want to spend time with our families, but they're shocking. The standard in this league is abysmal and we all know that. So I do worry every game and that's becoming more and more of a worry, especially with a performance like Stoke. I think the worrying thing is what will happen is the referees get reviewed every game by an independent referees panel. So what happens is they perform, and a lot of them are rookies. A lot of them have been put up to the standard of the Championship, which is the biggest game they've had. So they've gone from League 1 to the Championship, League 2 to the Championship. Sometimes even the Conference, I've seen that this season, to the Championship. They have the big Championship games, they get graded on it, and then they might be put down a level. You know, and that was evidently what happened at the weekend. I've never seen that referee before, the Stoke one. I don't know if you guys have. I've never seen him before. But it was another shocking performance. And, you know, I'd love to have maybe Martin Atkinson or even a Mike Dean. I thought Mike Dean did brilliantly at the Leeds game when we played Reading and beat them 1-0. Thought he got everything spot on. And there's levels in this game. There's levels of quality of footballers and there's levels of the quality of the refereeing. You know, even managers, of course, it reaches every single bracket of football. And the referees in this division are so inconsistent because they come from every venture. They come from Conference, League 1, League 2. Some drop down from the Prem. There is no statistically just pure Championship referees like there is in the Premier League. It doesn't work like that. So consistently, there's a different ref every weekend. You know, we could have, you know, what's the turnover of referees in this league every season? It's about 70. It's ridiculous. You know, they don't just stay in the Championship, you know. So it's very, very frustrating because we don't know who we're going to get every week. Dr. Frosty, for sure, all in all, average. If he's all in all average, then how do you explain that performance against Derby? If he's all in all average. It's the most complete midfield. But name me a better, here's one for you, Frosty. Name me a better midfield performance this season than Forshaw against Derby. You won't find one. Offensively, defensively, he was immaculate. 10 out of 10 performance. So if he can produce that week in, week out, when he's only got, one game a week in the Premier League, which he will have. He won't have Saturday, Tuesday. He's already done it 35 times in the Premier League before. He's already played for Everton in the Premier League before, so they evidently thought he was good enough alongside Borough in the Premier League. So how is he average? He's playing at the top of the table side, week in, week out. He's rated by Bielsa as the best player in the squad. So why is he average? Because Dr. Frosty says so. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all have opinions, but it's just ridiculous calling Forshaw average. It's just stupid. Harvey Barnes, Kadeem Harris, Powell, and Saeed Benrahma. Yes, nice little pick there, mate. I agree with that. I love Saeed Benrahma. Quality player. Bamford way better than Roof. Agreed. Bamford will be the difference this season. Reece Redhead, I hope you're right, mate, but he's only been playing a few games because of injuries and suspensions when Cooper and Jansen start together. Forshaw doesn't start. It's always Click and Phillips. Yeah, but I'm telling you, mate, honestly, when Forshaw comes, when Click comes back in, if Bielsa's already said that he's the best player in the squad, he said that recently as well. There's no chance I don't think that Click will stay in this squad because he's not performing. And I think Forshaw's had better performances, a lot better performances more recently than Click. Click looks terrified to shoot. You know, he's had so many opportunities. Stoke had 2 opportunities to shoot. Derby had 3 gilt-edged chances on the edge of the box to shoot. Didn't do it. Zero Cool, bring back Gary Kelly. Yeah, go on, do that. You guys are getting your comments in at the minute. Going to move down a little bit just to update myself. Michael Lawrenson, what do you think of John Obi Mikel to Borough? Yeah, I was speaking to my mate at Borough about this, and you just don't know what to expect, do you? If he's going to give you sort of that sitting in front of the defence, screening that every single week, and there's a reason they've done it. I think the Ashley Cole thing is so funny. Because big fat Frank has got rid of a young talent, sent him to Aberdeen because Jack Clark rinsed him. He's not decided to stay with him at all, not decided to progress with him. You've also got Forsyth, who's a left back, who they've got on the bench. Don't start him. You know, don't put him in. Go sign Ashley Cole. Wow, that's a good one. That's a nice one. You know, he might bring experience. He might help the Derby changing room. But at the end of the day, what is he going to do against Jack Clark, for example, a winger of that ilk? What's he going to do against an O'Neill Hernandez from Norwich? He's not going to do anything. He's too slow. He's 38. To transition from the US League to the Championship is just a massive, massive step up. And you've seen that with Jack Harrison. So asking a 38-year-old man, and has anybody come out and said anything about Frank doing that? Nah, if that was Bielsa, he'd be absolutely hung to dry. The fact that Frank is getting all of it. There was notions this season. John Terry turned around and said he didn't want to do it again. Lampard wanted Terry in that lineup as well. So imagine having Terry and Cole, get the boy band back together. You know, I bet they were in for John Obi Mikel as well. Just get the band back together. Where's Kesman? Get him back in the side as well. Get Drogba up front again. They'll probably win it, wouldn't they, to be fair? Forshaw to prove doubters wrong before the end of the season. Agreed, Billy. He's class. I don't agree with anybody who says he's not. Andrew Batty, hopefully we'll get West Brom's frame of mind now, start bagging goals, hopefully. Ollie, would you take James Milner back? Yeah, 100%, mate. Imagine him in the Prem as well. What a signing. Jackie Babs, any news on the giveaway? Great to see you get to another 1K so quickly. Mate, honestly, I can't tell you what we're on right now. I think it's 492. I don't know, like, 49. What do I mean 492? Like 4,920 something. But you get subscribe, and we'll get closer and closer. It'll be a real good giveaway. Imagine the channel getting to 5K, guys. You know, I joined in when I was in Australia, and you know, we're doing so well then. And I jumped on it because I used to watch, you know, Joe every week. I know he's going to be like that now, but but I used to watch Joe as well, and he's done wonders for the channel. And Tasha is brilliant behind the scenes as well. Oscar's been there for ages as well, so he's done excellently well. So I joined, and it's been an experience, guys. And to get to 5K, wow, that'd be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, the giveaways, it's pretty mega. I've seen it, and it's mad. Noob play. Prem level is poor these days outside the top 8, to be fair. Exactly, Noob. I don't know why I call you Noob. But yeah, you know, you get at the top half of the Championship, playing the bottom half of the Premiership. I don't think there's much in it. There's not much in it. That top 8 are the breakaway. You know, you've got the top 2, but you've got the top 8 who are the breakaway. So if we can give a Huddersfield a game, a Burnley a game, a Palace a game, a Southampton a game, a Southampton who struggled against Derby, who we comprehensively beat twice, you know, Forshaw dominating the game in the second leg. Why is Forshaw not as good as like Højbjerg? Why is he not? Well, because Højbjerg's got a 50 million price tag on him. The extreme, maybe 30 million price tag on him. Or James Ward-Prowse. Just don't get it, man. Apparently Volk's out for 1 or 2 weeks. That's brilliant. Henry again, Roof over Bamford. It's interesting. It'd be interesting to see how Bamford would have done this season. If he'd have got more goals than Roof, it'd have been interesting. How many good games did Forshaw have? 1. No. He's had much better performances than that. He's had a fair few good performances as Forshaw. There's no point in just listing them off. But what I'm saying to you, my question was to you, Frosty, can you name a midfielder who's had a better performance this season than Forshaw? Forshaw's not been playing in his role as well. Throughout pre-season, Forshaw was moulded into an attacking midfielder. Suddenly, he's a defensive midfielder. And you saw when he had a bit more of a free roam against Derby how good and effective he could be. He had an absolutely superb strike on goal in the first half. Whistle past the post. He was everywhere. You know. Anyway, sorry. Dilip, hi, mate. Let's shut up about Forshaw. Yeah, exactly, mate. I'll shut up about him now. Forshaw is average, 100 quid bet. Hi from France. Any thoughts on how many games to win to seal promotion? So how many have we got left, mate? 18. You're probably looking at 12, 13. I think it's going to go right to the wire, mate. I really do. Michael Lawrenson, I think you are one of the... What did you say, mate? Sorry, there's a lot of comments coming in at the minute. I think you are one of the only non-deluded Leeds fans. The rest are right pricks. I wouldn't necessarily agree with them being right pricks, mate, but I just shoot from the hip, mate. I do. I'm a massive Leeds fan. I'm positive. You know, I had a season ticket for however many years. The only reason I've not got one this season is because I was in Australia for half this season. So I've been there week in, week out for many, many years. The people who will say, you know, every week we'll win 4-0, win 5-0. And I understand people who are like that. I understand. But that's the variation you get on our channel. And you come to me and, you know, Joe's brilliant. Joe is fantastic. He's positive, brings everybody up. Me and Joe don't see eye to eye with some things. Me and Oscar don't see eye to eye with some things, you know. So it doesn't make me any better than those guys. It doesn't make me any less deluded than a lot of people who watch this. In my opinion, I don't go into every game thinking Leeds going to spank teams 2 or 3 or 4-0. I don't think that. I think realistically, you've seen the blueprint over the past 10, 15 years, how that doesn't happen. So I kind of go off that quite a bit as well. And I think that sometimes there's a real mentality within Leeds, and it's sad to see, but I'm hoping this year there's going to be a real breakaway of that. And I've been pretty decent with my predictions this year as well. Sorry, I'm just doing my camera a bit, guys. I've been a bit decent with the predictions, but who knows? Who knows how we'll do. Conor, do we charge visiting fans too much? I know the West Stand is expensive. I don't know if I'm a little bit far away from you guys here. The camera might be a bit off. Sorry if it is. Just getting you right. Bet it's attractive for you, isn't it? Is that all right? That a bit better? Is that a bit better? It's not, is it? I need to sort this out. Sorry, guys. That's better. There we go. There we go. Conor, do we charge visiting fans too much? I know the West Stand is expensive. I sit there, but they can't choose. Yeah, I'd agree, mate. I definitely agree. I think we do charge visiting fans too much, but it's just how it is, isn't it, mate? We have the pull. We're able to do that. People come to Leeds, and, you know, it's one of those things where I do think we charge them too much. And, you know, we all talk about how many clubs come to Leeds and don't sell out. But, you know, why would you? It's like Derby. I mean, Derby didn't have the best following, but why would you come to Leeds? I think I'd criticise Derby fans because they didn't sing enough. And I thought they were pretty quiet throughout the game. But why would you come to Leeds when it's a Friday night, you're on Sky, it's what, 120-mile trip, and you're paying £42 for a ticket? You got to bear that in mind. You know, I know we talk about other fans being shit and all this sort of stuff, but the best fans are probably that come to Leeds, Borough and Wednesday, and they're relatively close, aren't they? You know, you got to factor petrol in, you know, family time, the money, you know, if we're on Sky. I don't know. Maybe I've got a different opinion to everyone else. Oliver King, Forshaw has only had one bad game versus Forest. I think so, mate. And I think if you're depicting a bad game based on mistakes, which I would say is when someone has a bad game. I think someone can have an off game, but that's when they don't get involved as much. But if you have a bad game, that's a mistake. And I don't think Forshaw's had many of those this season. I think he's been steady Eddie. Do I think he's gone over and sort of above to do things and this, that and the other? I don't know. But now he's getting more indoctrinated within the side. I think we've seen better performances more consistently from him. And like I say, I've not seen a better midfield performance than that Derby one. So if he can replicate that against Norwich under the lights again on Friday night, will everyone be saying the same thing? Will everyone still be saying that Forshaw's not good enough? Conor is deluded in regards to Forshaw. All right, mate. You're entitled to your opinion. Ollie Davis, do you think Bielsa is playing all the players in the right positions, or would some of them be better placed elsewhere? I don't, mate. And, you know, the only reason I want it, it's been difficult this window, this window and in this sort of period, because Leeds haven't been able to sort of do that because we've not had players fit. But Helmer should be centre half. KP should be in his role, and I think he does have the option to do that, in my personal opinion. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up now. What else have we got? The last couple of comments. Players now need to fight for their positions with injuries coming back. No one is in the starting 11 for definite. Yeah, exactly. Extreme. I agree with you there, Ollie. LBCS, but you seem as though you want Forshaw to play shit tomorrow so you can go. But all right, you're talking about, yeah, blaming me. I like Forshaw. What do you think of Casilla starting? Yeah, Philip, that's a brilliant point there, and I'm really happy he's starting. And the reason I'm happy he's starting is because the guy's class. He's come from Real Madrid, so he's going to come into a big occasion at Rotherham, and this guy's played at the Nou Camp, he's played at the San Siro, he's played at Wembley. He's going to come in and it's going to be seamless. So I'm really excited for that. Last comment, guys. I think we should keep Ayling right back and put Shackleton in CAM, pushing Pablo out wide and dropping Harrison. Personally, it's a really good shout. We've seen he can play there. The only thing I would say with Shackleton is, does he have that sort of va-va-voom in the centre attacking midfield role? Can he create that much? But if we're just having high energy, do I think he'd do a better job than potentially Tyler Roberts? I 100% do think that. I agree with you, mate. So it's interesting. Yeah. Guys, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, once again, it's the third time I've asked you, but obviously we get a good indication of whether or not you like these Friday night footballs, Joe's Monday night footballs, and Oscar's investigates at midweek. We get a real good indication if you like the content. We're going to review it at some point and see, whether or not the likes indicate that you do like it. So if you do like this content, if you like me coming to you every Friday night, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. We're nearly 5K as well. I won't be giving my review of the game. I'm away at the weekend, unfortunately. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. But I won't. This is the first time I've not done a review in quite a long time. So yeah, this is probably the last time you'll hear of me. I'm not dying or anything, but the last time you'll hear of me on a stream. Yeah. So yeah, fantastic. So thank you for tuning in, guys. I hope you're all well, and I hope you have a cracking weekend. And I'll catch you in a bit. Cheers.